despite the ongoing expansion of development at oil sands, there are signs that the tide is beginning to turn against the project. A European Union intention to designate oil from sands as 25% more polluting than conventional oil would effectively see imports of oil from the oil sands banned.
There's even gloating over the fact that Europe is reducing its efforts to move towards sustainable energy. Reason? It can't compete with U.S. production based on the cheaper energy that's destroying the world and society. The corporate sector has announced quite openly that it's carrying out major propaganda campaigns to convince the public that climate change, if it's happening at all, does not result from human activity. Now, these efforts are aimed at overcoming the excessive rationality of the public, which continues to be concerned about the threats that scientists overwhelmingly regard as near certain and quite ominous. All of that makes sense under prevailing ideology and prevailing institutional structure, which is directed towards pursuing the vile maxim of the masters of mankind. And in this case, it goes well beyond ruining an economy. Thanks.
These images from NASA's Landsat satellite shows the growth of the surface mines around the Athabasca River between 1984 and 2011. Even the name of Canada's deposits is controversial. While environmentalists prefer to refer to them as tar sands, the Canadian government has officially named the deposits oil sands and says the sand mixture doesn't actually contain any tar. It's popularly believed that tar sounds much dirtier and more threatening than oil, and then there's the contaminated water that's a byproduct of the process used to turn the bitumen into usable fuel. This water contains leftover bitumen as well as solvents used to separate bitumen from the sand mixture and is known as tailings. This includes the fact that seepage from the groundwater can occur, as well as the fact that the water contains chemicals that are toxic to fish, and that residual oil can float to the surface of the ponds and pose a risk to waterfowl. After a flock of 1,606 birds died after landing on its tailings ponds back in 2008. By 2022, so much fuel will be being produced that just a month's output of this contaminated wastewater could turn an area the size of New York Central Park into a toxic reservoir 11 feet deep.
These are countries with unique advantages, and they're in the lead to the race to destruction. The suicidal drive is conducted with considerable euphoria about what's called a century of energy independence, in which North America becomes the Saudi Arabia of the 21st century. The excitement is scarcely tainted by reflection on what the world will look like as fossil fuels are consumed with unrestrained exuberance.